I want to introduce you and hopefully explain minor sevenths and major sevenths on the mandolin. We're going to look quickly at the theory behind them and then show you some shape options that you have to play them. And then we'll have a little play of a tune called Autumn Leaves, which has every kind of chord you could ever wish to know. So we're going to start with minor seventh chords. Now, what I always think is important to say, I'm going to work with the key of G, so G minor. So a G minor 7 is not a G minor 7, it's a G minor 7. So the minor applies to the original chord, so it's a G minor chord, and then you add in the seventh to it. And I think the best way of doing this is with a little arpeggio exercise, and at this point I should say there is a corresponding worksheet with this video, which you can download at the link below or via mandomic.com. With our little starting arpeggio exercise, I've basically taken the 1, 4 and 5 of the key we're in. So we're in G minor, so it'd be G minor, D minor and C minor. So G minor is the 1, C minor is the 4, D minor is the 5. And then the arpeggio exercise will just cycle through them, and hopefully it'll allow you to see where that seventh note is added and how it sounds, really. It's kind of a nice... The minor 7 chord is not as... doesn't sound as much as a passing chord as the 7th chord. You know, a 7th chord sounds like it's going somewhere. But a minor 7th chord, I don't know, it sounds more stable. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go anywhere, so it's good to know how it sounds as a triad. So let's try the arpeggio together. So after 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and C minor 7, D minor 7. Do that again. 3 and 4 and C minor 7, D minor 7, G minor 7. So we can do the same thing with, let's just move it up a tone and let's do it on A minor 7. So our 3 chords now are A minor 7, D minor 7 and E minor 7. If you noticed, I'm using, for the people who know a bit of music theory, I'm using the natural mode, not the harmonic mode or anything like that. So my 5 chord, so in G minor 7, my minor chord, my 5 chord is also a minor chord. Because in the natural mode you have the F natural, which makes it a D minor. So we'll move into A. So we'll do A minor 7, D minor 7 and E minor 7. It's about the same speed. 3 and 4 and D minor 7, E minor 7, A minor 7. Let's do that one more time. 3 and 4 and D minor 7, E minor 7, A minor 7. So how do you turn that into a chord shape? Well, I base it off the normal 7 shape. So let's take G7. Hopefully you all know the G7 shape. If you don't, the beginner and intermediate lesson for this month is all about this shape, so I'd suggest you go and learn that first. But it's this 3-2-3 shape. That's kind of our G7 chord. So that's based around the G major. So basically you need to turn your G major into a G minor, which is this first finger here. This is playing a B, so we need to flatten this B to a B flat. So your G7, which is 3-2-3, now becomes G minor 7 by moving your first finger back. So you now get 3-1-7. Sounds like this. There's our G minor 7. And then the same principle applies with every other chord. So you take your C7, move your first finger back, and you get C minor 7. D7, D minor 7. It's quite a... Because it... I don't know, it just sounds a softer sound than the... So if you don't often go from like G minor to G minor 7, it's not used in the same way as a 7th chord. So you don't necessarily need to practice moving between G minor and G minor 7. You sort of just need to practice getting to a minor 7 chord quite quickly. So I suggest you do that. Make sure that little shape is pretty well ingrained in your brain. That 3-1-3 shape. That's pretty much the only shape that I ever use for minor 7 chords. So I'm kind of going to leave that there. Just get that 3-1-3 pattern ingrained. And remember that whatever this highest note is tells you what your minor 7 chord is. So here it's a G, so it's a G minor 7. If I was to put it here, it's a B flat down here, so it's a B flat minor 7, E flat minor 7. You know, it's whatever your third finger note is, that's telling you what the rest of the chord is as well, as long as you get the right shape. So I'm going to leave minor 7s there, and we'll move on to major 7ths. And major 7ths are quite a bit different to minor 7ths because we're now working with the major chord. So G, it's G major. And if you were to take the normal triad, the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3 and 5, and then you add the 7th note of the scale, it's an F sharp. So it's the note just before the root. So whereas our normal G7 is a flat 7th chord, the major 7 doesn't flatten that 7, it keeps it as it should be in the scale. So it creates, again, it's a major 7 chord. It doesn't sound anywhere near as on the edge of moving as a normal 7 chord. It's like almost like a softer sound, even though you've got technically you've got a G and an F sharp in there. It sounds like it should clash, but it really doesn't. It's such a kind of a nice chord to play. So what I want to do is I want to do a similar exercise that we did with the minor 7 chords. We're going to do a little arpeggio exercise over the major 7 chords, and the same theory. So I'm going to use the 1, 4, and 5 of the scales. So we're going to start in G. So it's G, C, and D. So it's a G major 7, a C major 7, and then a D7. Now, this is an important point to remember. The 5 chord, or some people call it the dominant, the 5 chord is not normally made into a major 7 chord. It's a 7th chord, because if you look at the scale, G, A, B, C, natural, D, E, F sharp, G, if you were to pick out the notes you need for a D chord, it's a C natural in there, which makes it a D7, not a D major 7. So this exercise is going to go G major 7, C major 7, D7. That's an important thing to remember with major 7s. The dominant chord of the key you're in is normally kept as a 7, not on major 7. After 3 and 4 and, 3 and 4 and. C major 7, D7, there's a 7 note, to G major 7. Yeah, let's try that again. 3 and 4 and. Then we can do the same thing, but move into A. So it's A major 7, D major 7, and this time it's E7, because E is the 5 chord of A. So 3 and 4 and. E7. Let's try that again. 3 and 4 and. There's a major 7, D major 7, E7, A major 7. The major 7 shape that I use, there's two options. The first one is based on your normal G chord, so you kind of the very basic 2-finger G, open, open, 2, 3. Just turn that final 3 into a 2 as well, so it's open, open, 2, 2. There's your G major 7. And then you kind of have to bar from then on. So if you were to take the A chord, 2, 2, 4, 5, which is sort of the same as that, just barred like that, you kind of have to, you either have to tuck your little finger in, or I flatten that finger, so I've kind of got 2 bars going on, 2, 2, 4, 4, to get A major 7, which looks like that. It's kind of a horrible little chord. So you can either tuck your little finger in behind or flatten your finger like I do to get your A major 7. It's a nice chord. And then the other shape that you can do is a little easier. Is based off your C chord. So if you take your 3-finger G, C chord, your 3-finger C chord, which is 3. I'll try that again. It's based off your 3-finger C chord, which is 5, 2, 3. And then we're just going to tuck this one here, this highest note, behind and do 5, 2, 2. Sounds like that. And then you can move that anywhere. And whatever note this bottom one's playing is telling you what chord it is. So this is the C, this is the C major 7, this is the D, D major 7. And there's no rule which one you do with each, but I'll just tell you, I can basically tell you what chords I use on which. So G major 7, I use that shape, A flat, A major. And then once I've got to B major 7, I move away from that one and start doing. So G, A flat, A, B flat, and B are all that kind of tricky shape. It's like that. And then from C onwards, I revert to this slightly easier one. That's kind of just 2 fingers. So practice them, get them under your fingers, and then we're going to have a go at Autumn Leaves. Okay, so this is quite a hard tune. I'm just going to throw you in at the deep end and leave you to kind of repeat this until you can practice it. But I'm going to play it twice through. I'm going to play the chords the first time round, and then I'll play the melody second time round. And whichever you do is up to you. I've got the metronome set at 90 BPM, so it's about this speed. So your really hard phrase comes fairly near the end, where you have to go E minor 7, E flat 7, D minor 7, D flat 7 in quite quick succession. But every chord, you can work out where it is based on what I've done in this lesson. So before you play along, just go through each one and maybe just have a think about what shape you're going to use for each one. Because it's a tricky tune, and might take you a bit of practice to kind of play along with me. But it's really nice chord progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F minor 7, B7 to E minor. It's not easy. We're going to repeat that. So A minor 7, D7, G major 7, C major 7, F sharp minor 7, D7, E minor. Onto the B part, F minor 7, B7, E minor, A minor 7, D7, G major 7, F minor 7. Here's the rundown. C major 7. repeat the A part. A minor 7, D7, G major 7. Onto the B part. F. A minor 7. That's it for this month. I hope that you were able to play along with Autumn Leaves eventually. It's not easy, but hopefully I've given you the tools you need to work out any major 7 or minor 7 or 7 chord that you could possibly need on the mandolin. Might take you a bit of time. You might need to take this away, digest it, write your own little chord shapes down, but definitely worth your effort because that's pretty much all the chords you'll ever need. So yeah, go and have a good rest. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next month.